This concert gets 5 bananas out of 5, according to the NoMoreStinkyMonkeys.com website, which makes it a classic. I've been to well over 100 rock concerts in my life, and Saturday night's show with Paul McCartney had to rank in the top 3. It was overwhelming how good it was. I walked out of there exhilarated and exhausted, with an even greater appreciation for the man and his career. As a huge Rolling Stones fan, I struggled with this for many years, but I'll give it to him. He's the greatest songwriter of the 20th century. I'm sure he was waiting for my approval. He's also my favorite billionaire. But I can no longer dispute the obvious. From 1962 to 1980, Paul put out the best hooks and melodies of any pop songwriter in history, and he displayed the variety and depth of his talent on Saturday night. Just when you think he's a soft rock showman like Billy Joel with songs like Yesterday, he breaks out the world's first heavy metal song with Helter Skelter. When you think his best songs are 8-minute sing-alongs like Let It Be or Hey Jude, he pulls a Beach Boys on Speed number out of his pocket like back in the USSR. The best thing he did throughout the night was take these pop rock standards who we all grew up with and turn them into fast, loud, and screaming hard rock hits. You have a feeling that this is how he would have liked to have recorded them if the technology existed back then. Like Spinal Tap, he turned the amps up to 11 and got your pulses racing like crazy to Baby You Can Drive My Car, Get Back, and the always magnificent Live and Let Die. He didn't make you forget Guns N' Roses' version. He honored it with huge exploding flames and brilliant fireworks. There were as many people over 50 as under 50 at this show, and I hope they brought their heart medicine and earplugs, because they could not have expected this. He's 67 years old. I'll repeat that. The cute one is 67 years old. He's 8 years younger than my father, and while they've always been 8 years apart, the distance in age has never been so apparent as it is now. I don't know if it's the vegetarianism or the pot, but Paul sure looks more like 47. He's thin, limber, and boyish. He still longs for the days when girls screamed that orgasmic Beatle scream, and they did scream it for him at least 5 times Saturday night. He doesn't jump around on stage and dance like Mick Jagger, but that was never his act anyway. He is first and foremost a world-class musician. He played electric and acoustic guitar, both with just fingers and with a pick, bass, piano, ukulele, and mandolin. You didn't just marvel at his considerable showmanship. Your heart swelled up at his obvious joy and love for the music. I get so tired at old rock stars who look like they are going through the motions, or worse, seem to hate their own success. People like Pete Townsend who look like it's a chore to play Barbara O'Reilly. Well, Paul did something different with his career. He moved on, and then he came back to the old songs many years later, so that they all seemed fresh and new to him again. By the time The Who came to America, the Beatles had already retired from touring, so probably 5 of their albums worth of material, which many would call their best 5 albums, were never performed for a public audience. I looked up Wings Over America, his live album with his second big band, and they only played 4 Beatles songs across a 3 LP set. Saturday night they played 35 songs and 21 were Beatles songs. I have to believe that almost half were songs he never played in concert before, like I've Got a Feeling from Let It Be. You know when you see a less talented band in concert, especially an opening act, and you sit on your hands and most of the set until they play a crowd pleaser, a cover song. What do they usually play? A Beatles song. And that gets everyone up and shouting. Well, imagine that happening 21 times throughout the night. And I'm not even counting all the great Wings songs he played, like Band on the Run, Jet, and the gorgeous My Love, which he wrote for and devoted to his beautiful deceased wife Linda. When he was finished, I asked my friend, what song did he write for the ex-wife with the one leg? But Paul is above all classy and a real gentleman. However, he does have his impish, snarky ways, a sense of humor that he shared with his mates, even back in their earliest days in America. While discussing Yesterday, he said that 3,000 singers have recorded it, and among the best was Elvis, but that Elvis changed the lyrics from I said something wrong to I must have said something wrong, which changes the meaning from I apologize to I'll apologize, but I don't think I said anything bad. And when he paid tribute to George Harrison, he said He played Something in the Way She Moves Me on a ukulele that George gave him years ago. When he finished the song, he told a story about Frank Sinatra singing Something, one of George's best songs, and Sinatra saying on stage that this was his favorite Lennon-McCartney song. Paul devoted another song to John Lennon called Here Today, which got him all emotional, but it was admittedly not a very good song. It was written during Paul's down period for songwriting, the early 80s. I much preferred his medley of Day in the Life and Give Peace a Chance as a tribute to John. I don't think he's ever played songs that belonged to the other Beatles before on his own. That was obviously a tribute to the Beatles, being the first rock band to play a baseball stadium, like they did in 1965 and 66 at Shea Stadium. Because of that event, he was brought back to be the first music act at the Mets' new stadium, Citifield. And so he made it more of a Beatles show than anyone had witnessed in 43 years. I saw Paul back in '95 at Giant Stadium, and he put on a great show that night with tons of Beatle hits. But that seemed like a warm-up for this extravaganza Saturday night. And his backup band were young and hungry, and may have loved the music even more than he did. Especially this big monster of a drummer with a great falsetto voice. His name is Danny Sywell. I don't keep my newer ticket stubs anymore, but I do have a collection of stubs from my favorite concerts from years ago. This stub is going into that special box. And as Paul finished the show Saturday night with the finest three-man guitar solo in history, he sang the truest words. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. Aha. From the Predator.